Hey everybody, welcome to the next rendition of our real estate professional series. Mike Coleman here with the Mike Coleman team, Remax Limited Results Realty. Again, bringing you another real estate professional to talk about some different things. As part of this series, I'm joined by Jeremy Freed today, who's with Tucker Title in Norwalk, Ohio. Jeremy, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you being here.
Sure. Hello.
So I just wanted to bring in Jeremy today. Obviously, title companies have a big role in what we do in the real estate world, as far as getting a transaction from the time we find you that property to closing, and they play a big role into that. Jeremy, if you would, if you want to start out just by telling us a little bit about your business and where you guys are located.
Yeah. So like Mike said, my name is Jeremy Freed and I own Tucker Abstract. We're located at 26 East Main Street in Norwalk. We're downtown, about a block east of the courthouse. The company's been around since 1898. So that's a long time, over 100 years. We basically do all types of transactions anywhere in the state of Ohio. And we have some customers that even we help them with stuff outside of Ohio. We can't actually issue the title insurance outside of Ohio, but we can do the closing and help them with some other aspects of the transaction.
Good. Awesome. So that kind of rolls into that a little bit, with you guys being in Norwalk. I know, we have used you guys for different areas. So you can pretty much take care of, anything, in our market area for sure. It doesn't matter where that property's at, correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yep. A lot of times we work in Huron County and all the surrounding counties, but we could do stuff in Southern Ohio or Eastern Ohio or wherever. We go all around.
Awesome. So for the new buyer, and potentially I guess obviously the new seller would have had a title company take care of it when they bought the home. But for somebody who's never been involved with a real estate transaction, I start introducing them to all these different professionals that are going to be involved in their transaction. As our relationship builds and we start trying to work on finding them a house, whether they're on the buying side or selling side. And we always, talk about title companies and their role. So what is a title company? What is your guys' role when it comes to a real estate transaction?
Well, I think the main thing is that we're a neutral third party. So we don't really represent the buyer, the seller, or the lender, or the realtor. We're just kind of a neutral third party. And the way we do things is kind of, you could almost break it down into the title part of it and then the closing part of it, because they're two separate things and they're quite a bit different from each other.
Okay. Well, let's start with the title part. So part of what your guys' job is essentially to make sure that when somebody is buying a property that they are getting the documents taken care of, recorded correctly, and that the transaction gets done legally the way it needs to be done. So can you guys kind of go through that process and what you guys do and cover to make sure that happens?
Sure. Yeah. So the transaction would begin by Mike, you or another realtor or even a lender sending us a title order, which could be a purchase agreement, or if it's a refinance, and they'll just send us, an order sheet for the refinance. That'll come in, probably get that in email, or someone might even drop it off. And when that happens, we open up a file. And the first thing we do is we go to the courthouse and start the title search. So we usually need one or two of three different pieces of information to start the title search, either the address, the current owner's name, or the parcel number. We go over to the courthouse. That allows us to identify the piece of property that's being sold. And then basically we'll run the indexes in the recorder's office based on the owner's names. And we'll establish what's called a chain of title, which is basically a history of the ownership of the piece of property that's being sold. And we can run that backwards in time for however long we need to, usually 40 or 50 years. Once we established who all the owners were in that chain of title, then we can run their names forward and find out anything that any rights to the property that they had granted through way of easement, oil and gas lease, mortgage, any liens. So once we know who owned the property, then we can run their names forward and we can see where they've given away rights to the property. And those are all recorded in the recorder's office. So that's the title search. And then we we take all those results, we type them up in a report, and that report's called the commitment. So that's a commitment to insure this piece of real estate to the new buyer once the transaction actually happens and the deed is transferred. So that's kind of the first part of it, is doing the title search and typing it up into a report.
Okay. And that is obviously very important so that we make sure that, that succession of ownership is there. So somebody hopefully can't come back and say, hey, I really own that property when it's transferred. And, certainly that could be, a big problem if that happens. So then you guys, issue a title insurance policy that helps cover your work and those parties involved. And how does that work then?
Yeah, so the title insurance policy is kind of in a way going to be based off the title commitment. The title commitment is going to show who owns the property. It's going to have a legal description of the property, and then it's going to have a requirements page. And the requirements page is going to list things that are going to be taken care of or cleared during the current closing. So if there's any open mortgages, we're going to have a requirement for those to be paid off. Or if we found any liens, there's a requirement to take care of those liens. Or maybe the seller holds title to the property in a trust and there's not been a memorandum of trust filed. We're going to have a requirement to record that memorandum of trust, which is required per the Ohio title standards. So the requirements are things that need to happen, that we need to satisfy, that we need to take care of before the closing happens. And then so like I said, there's it'll tell you who owns the property, the legal descriptions, the requirements, and then the exceptions from coverage is also part of the commitment. And those are those things that we found when we did the title search. So those are things that will be accepted from coverage. So after the transaction closes and the ownership is transferred to the new buyer, that title is going to be insured, but it's going to be subject to those rights that have already been taken away from the property, like the electric easement or the gas line easement or the oil and gas lease. So in that respect, the new title insurance policy will be based off the commitment. But the requirements part and the satisfaction of the requirements, those will happen as we transition now into the closing aspect of it. And that's where we deal with the money. We get the payoffs from the current lender, so we can pay off the current loan. Any type of liens, we pay those off. We get the payoffs from the state of Ohio or whoever the lien might be from. This is also the point where we prepare the title affidavits that the seller and the buyer are going to sign, the settlement statement, which deals with all the money, how much the buyer's paying plus their closing costs, how much the seller's getting after their closing costs are deducted. We prepare the deed. So this is where we prepare all the documents, and then we actually have a physical closing where we call the parties, and the parties come into the office, or we meet them somewhere at the realtor's office or whatever, and the parties actually physically sign all of the documents. And then once they sign the documents, then that settlement statement will tell the buyer how much money he needs to bring in. So once the documents are signed, the buyer sends his money into us. We hold it in our escrow account. We take all of the documents, and we take the documents that are going to be recorded, whether it be the deed or the mortgage or whatever. And we take that over to the recorder's office and we record it. And that physically transfers the title from the seller to the buyer. And then once that happens, we immediately send the seller their money. So we've held the funds in our escrow account until the property legally transferred to the new buyer. And then at that point, we send the seller their money. And that's kind of completes the closing part of it.
Good deal. So you can see how extremely important it is to have, this third party title company involved in this transaction. It keeps the buyers and sellers separate. It keeps the funds separate from the bank and all the parties involved. So that way everything gets dispersed the way it needs to be. That everything that needs to be paid off is taken care of, and it gives an opportunity for all the documents and stuff to be explained. Obviously, there's a lot of legal documents when you're buying and selling a house, so they're great about explaining if you have any questions about anything, and in that way, that's your opportunity to say, hey, what's this mean, or what's this mean? And between you guys and the lender and myself, we're able to finally sit down and go over all those documents and make sure that you understand everything. And it's, there's a lot that needs to be put into any real estate transaction. And these are a lot of the things that people don't realize, all the behind the scenes stuff that the lenders take care of, that we take care of, that, title offices take care of, that, are absolutely important to have happen here.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And I did want to say that after we get the deed recorded, then at that point, that's when the title insurance policy is issued. So the date of the policy will be the date of the recording of the deed or mortgage. And the new buyer will have title insurance from everything from that point of the recording of the deed backwards. So title insurance doesn't insure things in the future, it insure things that happened in the past. So yeah, that policy is effective the date of the recording of the deed, and you have insurance from everything backwards, and throughout the history of the property. And like I say, the title insurance policy is kind of based off that commitment that we originally did, and you're gonna see a lot of the same things that are on that commitment.
Awesome. Just, obviously in the light of everything that's going on, are you guys able to do things remotely in different situations? You obviously can work with people from, different areas, or things that can be done electronically by mail and stuff like that if people can't physically come to your office.
Yeah, yeah. As far as the employees go, our title searcher is working from home some because she can search in the recorder's office online for a lot of counties. So she's been working from home. Sometimes she'll have to come in every couple of days to get documents and things. Also the county, some of them you can access documents online, or they can email you the documents. As far as customers who are coming in for a closing, we kind of leave it up to them if they feel comfortable coming in. We've got a lot of hand sanitizer, and we got a thermometer. We don't take the customers' temperatures, but the employees that are in the office, we take their temperatures every day when they come and make sure they don't have a fever. And if the customers feel comfortable, they can come in, because there's usually not too many customers at one time. Most times there's not going to be any more than 3 people, maybe the realtor and then a couple of buyers or sellers, and they come in at different times. So we don't have a whole lot of people in there at one time, and we disinfect everything. Let's see, what else do we do? Yeah, basically whatever the customer feels comfortable with is what we do. And we can email documents to them, and we can go over the documents over the phone with them. So if they want, they can just come in, we can hand them the documents, and they can go sign them outside, or whatever they want to do. But there are definitely ways around it, especially as far as emailing the documents to them and going over the documents with them on the phone.
Awesome. Well, glad to know. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a lot of challenges and everything. A lot of things are changing, but we are able to get things taken care of, in a safe manner, and work through this. And well, Jeremy, is there anything else you want to add? I think we've covered a lot of good stuff and provided a lot of good information to people. So hopefully, they understand, what a title company does, the importance of that. But before we wrap it up, anything else you want to add?
Nope. Just wanted to say thanks for having me on here, and it was good.
All right. Well, hey, not a problem at all. Again, thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful. If anybody has any questions, about anything, feel free to reach out to Tucker Title, reach out to myself. We'd be happy to help you, with any questions you have about, working through a transaction and how that works. And as always, stay safe and take care, everyone.